Goliath had okay, so they had a very tough time with their assay lab. They did do photon assays and stuff, but there was just a giant lack of we'll call it focus at the lab. I don't know what's gone wrong with the world, but it took a while. But then once the lab got into motion, they got all their assays very quickly because that's how photon assay works. It's very quick. And then everything just came in. Okay, so they put all their assays, all the remaining assays, everything out in one fell swoop in, I think it was right before PDAC. Maybe it was right the first day of PDAC. Can't remember. But it was sometime in the past week or two. And the headline hole out of this whole lot was 9.39 grams over 10.17 meters. This project has returned an absolute incredible stream. And I, in this news release, even I look and I think, okay, well, that's a decent headline hole, but there's so many others that they could have put in there too. It's just that you can't put like 20 holes in the headline. So in my book, this is just one of many intervals. And if you look back at the history of Surebet and this whole discovery, it was all about showing, it was those channel samples initially, several meters, 5-10 meter intervals of 10 gram per ton gold equivalent. And they're still seeing it in drill holes today. And people, I think, get a bit jaded. They're like, oh, another 10 meters of 10 gram gold equivalent. Well, okay, that's goofy. Okay, this thing has grown and grown and grown. And what really stands out about the story at this point is the level of detail they can draw the loads. Okay, in the subsurface, see all those colored planar features down there, and sheets, layers. They now can see the footprint of those things and see how they're distributed in the subsurface. And there's a huge extent to these things. Like the scale of this system is every bit the same size as other big systems around the world, like the Pogo deposit up in Alaska. So these results are right in line with what I would expect for a major, Pogo style intrusive related gold discovery. All right. And interestingly, they have actually found the intrusive to go with this. I did see some of the core. They had some of the core at their booth, and I got to see firsthand the core, the intrusive rock with the veins. And I'm telling you, man, I can absolute guarantee that the veins that they have at Surebet and Bonanza and all of those have the same mineralogy and same, general character as the veins I saw in those intrusive rocks. Okay, in other words, talk smoking gun. My gut is that the igneous rocks are probably tapping the same structural feeders, the same magnetic source for the metals. Basically, everything's driven by one big heat engine at depth. Okay, there's definitely a smoking gun component to this story. All right, go to the next slide. Okay, they've done a great job here of putting together two cross sections. One kind of goes northwest to southeast, so it's going more or less across or at right angles to the sheet-like things, but you can see the loads. Okay, they've now defined a whole stack of these things. And notice over there on the right, they did a lot of drilling over in that area. And you might say, well, why? Well, look at how it's coming close to surface there. I think this is amazing. Okay, most of their highest grade and biggest intervals, not all, but most of them, are actually hiding right there next to the side of the mountain. And they could put a ramp down and they could get to those very easily. Okay, so think about the original thesis in that respect. You say, well, you put a drive in and add it from the valley. Okay, the valley's on the right-hand side. Put a drive in, and then you can access these things from that drive up. Like you're working up. You're not digging down, which is hard work. You're going up. That's amazing. Okay, so that whole thesis stays intact. And not only that, they're finding some of the best gold is in those veins that are closest to the side of the hill and to that area that they would access, first access with mining. That's pretty dang cool. Okay, go to the next slide. Now we're going to turn around and we're going to go to right angle. So this section goes from southwest to northeast, and it shows the layers. And you got two distinct orientations, like the Surebet structure. Yeah, it's dipping about 45 degrees. You can see it's the yellow one coming down. And then you have the Bonanza structure and the more flat ones down there. Interesting stuff. the fact that they have enough data now that they're starting to put this together is wonderful news. They also now have enough data where they can say they know where the high grade areas are within these planar features. Look, no vein on this planet is uniformly mineralized across its entirety. Okay, that's goofy. Okay, all veins have shoots or pods or stuff, and it usually has to do with how the veins open up. If there's a dilationary zone, you get uh, enough space where the fluids, when they come up, they can get in there and they can deposit all the goodies. Okay, they're starting to see a definition to those high grades. And again, a lot of that high grade is actually right there in front of our face. I mean, basically, it's just into the side of the hill. What better place for it? My gosh, there was like a 900-gram assay way back in the early days. Nobody could figure out where that was coming from. It was kind of in the talus. It was a chunk of rock in the talus on the side of the mountain. Now we know. Boom, there it is. Again, there's something really high grade. They need to drill the bedoodles out of this area that you see in the lower part of that baklava layer section. I think they're going to find something incredible next year. Or this year. Go to the next slide. Oops, sorry. This is that's Treasure Mountain. Okay, they drilled at Treasure Island, which is up in the ice field. It's well north of Surebet. So this different target, way to the north, but it's on the Gold Digger project. They had found copper gold surface samples here in 2023. Pretty good assays. Then they drilled a few holes. You can see where the red traces are. Look, they didn't hit any home runs. A lot of short intervals, 2-3 meter intervals of okay grade, but it's not what I call a discovery. Such is life. Okay, who cares? They got Surebet, and that's where I hang my hat. That discovery is big. I'm going to show the 3D model real quick for Goliath here. Share. Got to open up the file. Again, apologies. I should have had all of these opened up, but sometimes I get ahead of myself. All right, so this is going to take a second because I can tell you this is one big file. This is probably the biggest model of any of the drill stories that we've been following. It's absolutely huge, and part of that's because this topography layer is extraordinarily big, and that's what slows everything down. But here in a second, it'll pop up again. Note the scale bar down in the lower right. As I zoom in and out, that moves. And then we do have the gold equivalent values over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so we're going to zoom out for a second, and I'll tilt this puppy up. And you can see, all right, there's the series of veins that I just showed in their news release. Okay, it's kind of hidden below the topography here. But notice right in this area, this is where a lot of that high grade occurs. It is literally just into the side of the mountain, and it continues up into Surebet. Don't get me wrong; there's plenty of gold up in the Surebet, but there's so high grade, easy accessible gold hiding right there in plain sight. It's just crazy. All right, so let's turn that off so we can go faster. There's your plate of baklava. Okay, there's your gold bearing layers. Is it confusing, complicated? Yes. Okay, and have they got everything modeled? No. Okay, look at there. There's a big interval down there. What the heck is that? Well, that's one of those intrusive things. Okay, and I know that the company's working like mad right now to try to figure out the orientation and the geometry of those intrusive bodies that kind of cut up through here, because the intrusions, which kind of cut vertically across all this, are actually tapping the fluids from a source down at depth. But we know now that there's a high grade. Look, there's a high grade there. There's one there. There's one there. There's one there. Those intrusives are kind of the tree trunk, if you will. So we know there's something coming up from below, and then it's following these structures out and spreading out like branches on the tree. Very remarkable gold story. Is it early days? No, they're starting to get to a point where they can fully understand this thing, or more fully understand it. But does it still have lots to discover? Absolutely. Okay, look, there's a lot of drilling that has to happen in here to fully flesh out that high grade area. But even up depth into the Surebet area here, this is a very nice continuous zone, very predictable. Okay, there's a lot of tons. Look it in there. Look, there's high grade. They haven't modeled it. Like it hasn't they haven't connected the dots in some of the stuff in here. Is there still more stuff to figure out? Absolutely. Look at there. There's a high grade right there. High grade, high grade, high grade. Are they connected to anything in the model? Not really. Okay. More modeling needed? Absolutely. Probably need to drill some more holes in there, start connecting the dots, but they're on the right track. Okay. My point is this is a work in progress, and it is an absolutely exquisite gold deposit that could make for a nice tier 1 asset. All right. I think
these and additional disclosures regarding the risks involved in the type of investments we will be discussing can be found on Crescat's YouTube channel and on our website. Crescat's live market call is about sharing timely macro and newsworthy geologic updates on Crescat's activist metals positions, both the positive and the negative news across our holdings as it arises. The discussion and topics will not cover all aspects an investor should consider when deciding whether or not to invest in any of the securities that are part of our presentation. The type of investments that we discuss can carry significant risks, and whether or not to invest should be a determination made with the complete investor's suitability in mind and in connection with a professional advisor. The topics and themes we will discuss are the opinions of Crescat as a mining and exploration industry advocate. Our objective is to share the overall geologic progress of our strategy in creating new economic metal deposits in viable mining jurisdictions around the world. The forward-looking business opportunities we discuss may not come to fruition or may not have a significant impact on the value of any security. These presentations should not, under any circumstances, be considered investment advice or an offer of investment advice or services. Crescat's managed funds only accept accredited investors, and this presentation has generally been put together with that level of audience sophistication in mind. Any securities discussed do not represent a full portfolio and may only represent a small percentage of any Crescat Strategies holdings. These securities may or may not be held in any Crescat managed portfolio at any time.